What is up, everybody? It's your boy Ghost Bunny X, and I'm back with another Misfits X series video. And this is gonna be the last one for at least a little bit. I wanted to go over the fights that happened yesterday and just kind of talk about my thoughts on the entire event. First, we're gonna start off with Temple Arts versus Godson. Okay, where do we start? This fight seemed to have hit disaster when Godson wasn't coming out for his ring walk. Now, yes, there was some talk from the commentators Wade, Tom, and Slim in regards to the fact that the DJ for the event was nowhere to be found. Once everything was settled, the music was played, and it looked like Godson just wasn't coming out at all. Finally, two men Godson made chains for walked out in front of the crowd, and sort of shortly after Godson came out, the fight was like a male heavyweight version of Astrid Wet versus Keeley. It wasn't a great start for Godson, and Temple Arts pretty much controlled the fight the entire time. Godson ended up retiring on the stool as Temple Arts named the winner. Now here's the odd part. When Tempo's win was announced, the ring announcer had also said that it was stopped due to Godson's arm being dislocated. I'm not going to go in and rip on Godson because it may very well be true, but what it looked like didn't look like there was a dislocated arm. He wasn't grabbing at his arm at the end of the round or complaining to his trainers about anything like that, so I thought it was a little weird, but again, I don't know. Next, we have Ginty versus Halal Ham, the fight that a lot of people thought was going to be a lot better than it turned out to be. And before we talk about the entire fight, I do want to just point out the tweets that Mams Taylor put out during Ginty versus Halal Ham. Now, the first tweet he put out, it said, "If you don't throw hands in the Misfits boxing ring, you will not be invited back. Fucking throw. This isn't salsa night." He followed up that tweet with, "Worst fight on Misfits history." When someone replied saying that Mams was in charge of matchmaking, he said this, "Guilty, hands up. I can only put them in the ring. But fighters, hear this. You don't fight in the ring, you won't fight again." That was a pretty powerful statement from Mams Taylor, and I personally think that this is something that Mams needed to clear up, and this fight just so happened to be the best time to clear it up. At the end of the day, this is crossover/influencer boxing. If people wanted to watch technical boxing fights, they'd watch professionals, and I think that's just the facts. Especially when most Misfits fights are 5 rounds or less. That's not enough time to be feinting or being technical. You have to throw some shots. Now, some people will argue that this is the same as Josh Bruckner versus Salt Poppy, but the difference with that fight is that we all knew that both fighters were technical, and that each fighter had massive power in their punches and great boxing ability. They both know how to box well while also putting on a show, which they did, as Salt Poppy got the KO, which is the key difference here. Ginty and Alal both have had, for the most part, entertaining fights, but they were entertaining because Ginty wasn't scared to throw versus JMX, and Halal's training usually just went out the window whenever he got into the boxing ring. I'm not saying that you need to just throw endlessly and be sloppy. What I'm saying is you need to show that you're alive in that ring and that you're there to fight. Another argument I want to address is that Halal had Salt Poppy in his corner. Now, to some degree, this is true, but there are two factors to this. One, Ginty was doing the exact same thing as Halal when it comes to being feinting and being technical, in a sense, and hesitating to throw shots. It was really a two-way street. If Halal wants to establish himself as a boxer like Salt Poppy, then he needs to be able to accurate, technical, and explosive at the same time in the right way. Now, next we have Astrid Wet versus AJ Bunker. The first Misfits Women's Championship was an all-around great fight. Not only did both fighters go to the distance, but they both were throwing to the last bell. While not the most technical fight you'll see on Misfits, it was an entertaining one that I think will bring much more female influencers to the space, especially now that there's a belt to fight for. Astrid did show some more power to her punches, but it wasn't the biggest step up from her fight with Keeley. AJ Bunker was as scrappy as she was against Elle Brooke, but she looked technically better, which was nice to see. And yes, we will talk about Elle Brooke in a second. The fight was a very close one, and I can see a rematch for the belt in the near future. Okay, now let's talk about Elle Brooke. Elle Brooke was swapped in to the commentary group for Slim to commentate the Astrid versus AJ fight. This felt like a smart move by Misfits, as she is one of the biggest names in the women's crossover boxing space, and many people want to see her fight Astrid. While this wasn't a disaster, it wasn't exactly a slam dunk either. Throughout the fight, Elle Brooke threw jabs at both fighters and made the moment about her being the better fighter than both of them. This felt more clear in the post-fight interview when they invited her to speak with Astrid, still throwing shots that she wouldn't even fight Astrid because she is onto bigger and badder things, claiming she'd rather fight Ronda Rousey, but that just sounded stupid as fuck.
Do you want this fight? I mean, what's going on? She's got the title of the Queen of Misfits. Is it a fight you want? Can we make it at a weight that works for both of you?
No, I think I want bigger, badder things, no offense.
Bigger, badder things.
Ronda Rousey or Astrid Ware?
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Bigger, badder things.
Bigger, badder things. Listen, I know that these two have a history. I would love to see it if they could agree on the weight. And again, that belt's shiny, and I know it's going to be hard to pass up.
Probably the most entertaining fight of the night, the tag team matchup, the first Misfits boxing tag team matchup featuring Los Pinedas Coladas versus D-Generation Ice. This fight could have been a main event with the energy that it had leading up to the fight and in the building. Many thought this was going to fail and saw it as an insult to the sport of boxing, but at the end of the day, Misfits isn't regular boxing and it never will be. The fight turned out to be a success with very few flaws. B-Dave and Pineda both gave us a show and have incredible performances. D-Generation Ice, more specifically Ice Poseidon, were the flaws of this experiment. Both fighters claimed to have very little training going into the fight and both could not handle the styles of Pineda or B-Dave. Next we have King Kenny versus Ashley Raksu. King Kenny promised everyone at the last weigh-in that he would have a 2-second knockout on Ashley Raksu, but what followed was a rude awakening. Kenny's boxing career has been built on very wonky ways. As he won a controversial decision against FaZe Temper, it was soon overturned after he appealed. His next fight against FaZe Sensei was almost the exact same situation, a win by decision. Only this time, FaZe Sensei did not appeal the loss and Kenny advanced to 1-1. Kenny secured a certified victory in the eyes of everyone when he knocked out DK Money in the first round of his third fight, moving him to 2-1 as a boxer. Ashley Raksu had been knocked out within 3 seconds of his first fight, and it was a tough fight overall for him. He came into the fight needing to prove something, and he did. The fight was left with a split decision as somehow one judge had Kenny winning the bout. It was then revealed that Ashley Raksu had pulled off the upset of the night, and while this fight wasn't for the belt that King Kenny has, he might want to start working on combinations before he defends his belt next. Next, we have our co-main event, Dean the Great versus Puli Arif. What do I say about this fight? Oh, that's right. Congratulations to Dean the Great. As much as I don't like him, he put up a great performance and soon revealed that he had dislocated his shoulders, both of his shoulders, during training camp and fought through it tonight, which deserves respect in itself. But Dean did the things that I don't like him for and pretty much what he's known for, being an asshat. These things include Dean twerking on Puli like he did with Waleed. He ends up kissing Puli on the mouth and Puli lightly jabs at him as the ref separates them. And lastly, but Jesus Christ, Dean humps Puli during a clinch. The ref had to talk to both of the fighters a bit, but definitely had to talk to Dean the most about everything from taunts to back of the head shots. The ref gave them both a final warning at the beginning of the fourth round, but kept having to give him warnings during the entire round. Puli held his own, taking shots, giving shots, and being the first opponent of Dean's to take him the full distance. There was even a point where Puli, as Dean threw a combination, was able to switch places with Dean and get a headshot in. An entertaining fight all the way through, and while Dean remains champion, I hope we get to see Puli fight again. Now we have the main event of the evening, Jay Swingler versus Nick LMAO. The main event of the evening was absolutely nothing that I don't think anybody was expecting. While Jay showed glimpses and pieces of where he was fighting at when he fought Charlie's, it didn't seem like he had shown a ton of improvement. It felt off. And in post-fight interview, Jay revealed that he was disappointed with his performance. Nick LMAO was the upside of the surprise in this fight. Nick connected on shots and had some great combinations and jabs, as well as taking and dodging different shots thrown from Jay. Jay in the end came out with the unanimous decision win, and though an entertaining fight overall, there were many coming out saying that Nick LMAO was robbed of his win. Many going as far to say that the event held in Jay's hometown was a way to have biased judging. But of course, not confirmed or likely to be the case at all, but people still throw that out there. As of right now, it looks like Nick and the Happy Punch team will be appealing the decision to see if he can get himself his first win in a fight that nobody expected to be so explosive. My final record for predictions ended up being 4-3, which, to be honest, I don't consider bad. Thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it very much. I absolutely enjoy doing these crossover boxing videos, but of course, my channel isn't going to be strictly crossover boxing content, and you can look forward to some really fun vlogs and videos coming right your way. P.S. I will be doing a video on Misfits 006 when the full card is released, but as of right now, we have confirmed that JMX will be fighting Le'Veon Bell in New Orleans as the main event. We also had a tweet from Mams Taylor confirming that Waleed Sharks will fight on that card due to his fight in Misfits 05 being cancelled. We also have other possible fights, with Tempo Arts calling out True Jordy in his post-fight interview, as well as Sean Does Magic tweeting out that he wanted to see a King Kenny versus Taylor Holder fight, which I personally think would be very entertaining.